you. All right, how are y'all doing tonight? I had to make sure real quick that I was definitely unmuted. Don't want to go for a full hour again without unmuting myself. So I'm going to need a little bit of y'all's help this evening. I didn't do a whole lot of planning and drawing out the whole session for tonight. I really just want to go off the dome with this one because this is a topic that is very close to my heart. I would love to know in the chat room where you're streaming from. And we're going to talk today. Of course, the title is Bam in Your Face. Are you gainfully employed or painfully employed? And this is a big topic. This is something that I've been wanting to talk about on this channel for a very long time. I have several videos about just on this channel in general about my own career experience. I talk about high paying jobs. I talk about the highest paying jobs. It's been like since 2020 or maybe 2021 since I made one of those videos. But I do walk out through my journey. And as y'all know, this series, this podcast, if you will, is called Wealth Journal. So I'm sharing with you my thoughts about what being gainfully employed actually means, because you hear it, especially when you first graduate from college or get started with your adult life in general. And the overall consensus is, oh, okay, if you get something that's paying well, you got good benefits, oh, you're gainfully employed, you're good. There's a little more to that story that I don't think a lot of people realize, because there's another side of it where you could actually have all of those things and still be miserable and still be having painful experiences at work, and even having anxiety driving into work, just wishing something would happen to where you just don't got to go into work that day, or even coming up with your own solutions or reasons for not coming into work. So we're going to talk about work tonight. I know it's a Saturday evening, but we're talking about work because we have to have, this is something that is, I don't want to say it's a necessary evil. I want to say that this is something that everybody watching this right now, and this is something that everybody that has a job has felt at one point in their life. They wake up, man, I don't want to go to work today, or man, my boss is tripping, I can't stand this person, blah, blah, blah. We have to look at what it means to be gainfully employed, what it means to be painfully employed, and what to do about both of them, because you should actually take action whether or not you're gainfully employed or painfully employed. I'm glad that I was able to coin this term, because I know gainfully employed was already a thing, but you know, one thing was going through my mind when I was working my first ever job straight out of college, and that was, man, I am painfully employed right now. So before we jump into the overall topic, I do need to read off a quick disclaimer for you. This show is for educational purposes only. I just lost my spot. I am not a licensed advisor. Nothing I share should be considered financial advice. Always do your own due diligence. So that's first and foremost, everybody. I'm not just some random guy talking on the internet. I do know what I'm talking about, but I do want to encourage everybody not to just hear what I say and regurgitate what I say just off of what you heard online. Actually do your own research, fact check me. And as a matter of fact, I want y'all to feel confident when it comes to talking about some of the things that we talk about on this channel. So that's first and foremost. We'll get back into the topic at hand. Again, I don't have a ton of notes in front of me. I really just put a list of items in front of me just so I don't leave anything out when I talk about being gainfully employed. I'm going to take a sip of this apple Olipop. I don't know if y'all have had these. It's a healthy soda. They're delicious. Back on to the show. So what's gainfully employed? Well, if we're going by what your parents, friends, acquaintances, coworkers think, you've probably heard that being gainfully employed just simply means that maybe you're working at a Fortune 500 company, or you're at least working at a well-known company. You're getting paid above average what everyone else is getting paid, and you have benefits. And I remember when I first graduated from college, my aunt was acting up. She passed away now, but she was definitely one of my biggest fans on earth. And what she would always talk about was, yeah, he's employed, he's gainfully employed, he's got a job with benefits. So I want to kind of harp on that for a second, because of the simple fact that there's a little more that plays into that. Of course, she was just being playful, but we need to really have a structure and a state of mind as it relates to what gainfully employed means. So here's what I think it means. Y'all can let me know in the chat room what y'all think it means as well. Again, I do need y'all's help tonight. I need y'all's participation because I do need ideas to bounce off of. Of course, I can go by myself for a while, but it'll just make for a more interesting show. So in the chat room, if you will, just let me know what y'all think about being gainfully employed is. And also, I'm curious, what do you think being painfully employed is? Because the way I think about this thing, you can have the entire gainfully employed list checked off, but if you're not doing certain things, because being employed, yes, the employer has a lot to do with it, but you also have a lot to do with it. You have to control what you can control. You can't control uh, whether you get a bonus or not all the time at least. But you can control what you do with the money that you make from work, and you can control what you do when you are getting bonuses, when you are getting overtime, etc. So without further ado, I'll jump into my thoughts on being gainfully employed. In my opinion, gainfully employed, that means you're being paid well. Not according to company standards, not according to societal standards, according to your standards. And your standards mean based off of your bills, based off of your preferences, are you being paid well? So that's first and foremost. We'll jump a little more into that later. But you're also being treated well. You're being talked to properly. You're being treated with respect. The things that you do are recognized. They do not go unnoticed. You are actually awarded for the work that you put in direct proportion to the work that you're putting in. Does that make sense? Like, you're not going in there just to get paid and you're just doing like grunt work, for lack of a better term, and then you turn around and no one appreciates it, no one truly cares about it. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying you're actually being treated well, and that, my friends, is what being gainfully employed means to me. Not being overworked. You're working your standard 40 to 55-hour work week. It's such a big thing because obviously the standard work week for a full-time job is 40 hours a week. I'm not including part-time jobs in this, unless of course you're including a part-time job plus a full-time job, but I'm talking to my full-time employee people. That's who I'm talking to. I don't care if you're salary, I don't care if you're hourly. This pertains to all of you. So, what does that mean? 40 hours is obviously the standard work week. It's been the standard work week for as long as I can remember. But the thing is, when you hit certain levels of being salary, your work week starts to look like 50 hours a week minimum. And then that oftentimes pushes over into the 55-hour per week territory. And that's, maybe you're not going into work, but maybe you're working on your work laptop. Maybe you're working on side projects outside of work. Maybe you're answering emails. You're going to meetings. Those types of things. Simon says doing good. So good old Simon is doing well. Would you say you're gainfully employed, Simon? Let me know in the chat room. But yeah, so we have to look at, are you being overworked? So obviously if you're getting worked well over 55 hours a week every single week, that's a problem. And we'll jump into some of my story about that later if you haven't heard it a million times already. Good benefits. What do I mean by that? So you have good healthcare benefits. You feel comfortable going to the doctor. You might have an HSA account. And by the way, you can invest inside of your HSA account tax-free, which is awesome. And I've been taking advantage of that. But that's an example of a good benefit. And you'll know if you have good benefits or not because you'll be seeing, like, based on the amount that you have to pay after doctor's visits and co-pays and dental visits and blah, 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 you're going to really know. Simon is gainfully employed over here. Me too, me too, me too. That's what I'm talking about. We want to be gainfully employed. But good benefits don't just stop there. Obviously, there's a bunch of other things, like there's life insurance with the companies. I don't know that all companies have it or to what extent they have it, but there's life insurance, there's retirement, there's your health care insurance, there's other types of insurance, there's legal insurances. There's so many different things that come with working. that a lot of people don't take advantage of, to be perfectly honest. There are policies in place for if you need to take an extended leave, you can still get paid your full salary. Not every company has that, but again, gainfully employed is what we're talking about here. So you might be looking at working being out of work 3 to 6 months, but you're still getting paid when you're on leave. Just different things. I don't want to get too deep into that. Every company is different, but some companies are really, really good with it. Just look into your benefits, research your benefits, ask as many questions as possible about your benefits. When it's open enrollment, you need to be paying attention and looking into that. It's extremely, extremely important. I don't think people give it the attention it deserves. And really, it is nothing by itself, but when you pay attention to it, you give yourself what you deserve, and that's good benefits. So just look at that, and you'll trust me, you'll know if you have good or bad benefits. Yearly raises that at least keep up with inflation. This is a hard one, but for me, in my humble opinion, I will say that there is absolutely no way you are going to catch me working anywhere where I'm not consistently getting a raise that at least keeps up with inflation. But that's my standard that I have for myself. When I was working at my first ever job, I was not getting that. Guess what? I up and left. And that wasn't the only reason I left, but that was a big reason why I left. It needs to at least be on pace with inflation, because if not, you're literally moving backwards. And that is crazy. It doesn't make any sense to be like, oh yeah, I'm making more money this year. Okay, you're making 2% more and inflation just rose by 6%. You are moving backwards, my friend. 4% backwards to be exact. I I have a hard time tolerating that, just because we work hard for our money. So in my opinion, things need to coincide with it appropriately. So that is my soapbox on that. No need to get too crazy into that. And of course, retirement. Not all companies have great retirement, but look into your retirement. Of course, there's 401ks, there's thrift savings. Thrift savings? I forgot. It's something thrift savings, right? It's a different version of a 401k, basically. Thrift savings account, I think, is what it's called. But there's that. There's Roth IRA. There's Roth 401k. Different companies might have different packages. But the point remains, it has retirement. Now, can you have all of these things and still be painfully employed? Yes, you can. Obviously, being painfully employed, let me go through that real quick, is not being paid what you're worth, right? It is not being treated well. It's being overworked, doing 60 plus hours a week like I was doing from the get-go at 21 years old, from 21 to 23. Well, I guess you could say 21 and like a half or whatever I was at the time, but 21 to 23, I was doing 60, 70, 80, and it just kept piling on. It seemed like the older I got and the more days that went by, more work, more work, more work. And for what? Not recognition. Not thank you for all the time that you're spending in here, not spending time with your family. No. It was, well, he should be here anyway. Where else is he going to go and make this kind of money? And not the trauma dump, but obviously that was a very not so pleasant experience in my life. So I was not gainfully employed. I was getting money. I was getting overtime. I was getting paid. But was I getting paid what I was worth? No. Because when I went to my second job, which so happened to be across the country, I was getting paid I was getting paid more money for half the work, because I was working half the week at this point. Do you see what I'm saying? Do you have a work-life balance? I forgot to put that up there in my notes. Work-life balance is also part of being gainfully employed. If you can get paid well and have a work-life balance, you have won in life. And that work-life balance should not be taken for granted, and we'll get into that as well. We'll jump into some more ideas of what isn't gainfully employed. You have bad benefits. You don't really have the type of health coverage that you need. You have to pay out of pocket a lot. Enough said. You know what I'm saying? Your insurance doesn't cover a lot of procedures that you may or may not need. That is a problem. And even if it's not a problem for other people, if it's a problem to you, That's what you have to address. This personal finance, your personal finance journey is a very selfish one in that if something doesn't benefit you financially as it relates to work, just in my opinion, you can do what you want. You have to figure out what works for you. That's why I always tell people, if you want to go somewhere else, if you want to expand your horizons, if you want to go to school for something else, go to a completely different field, go for a different company completely, hey, you have to do what's best for you and your family. You don't have to worry about appeasing other people that are not, frankly, paying your bills. You are paying your bills. You are supporting the people in your life. If it's just yourself, you're supporting yourself. So you have to do what's best for you. You're not getting yearly raises. That's another reason why you would be painfully employed. You're not getting yearly raises, and or if you are getting them, they're not even close to inflation. And yeah, you're moving one step forward, but you're taking about 3, 4, 5, 6 steps back, depending on how bad the inflation is on any particular year. That's something we got to look at. Oh, Llama Boy, it's been a minute. How you doing? How you doing? Good to see Llama Boy. That's about good. Anyway, as I was saying, in retirement, let's say you have a 401k at your company, but your company doesn't offer a match. Well, as taxed heavily as 401ks are, and by knowing the amount of fees associated with 401ks, you should watch that 60 Minutes episode. I think there's 2 of them actually that specifically talk about 401k and how heavily they get hit on just fees alone. And then at the end of it, you get taxed. So all of those pre-tax dollars that are growing and they look great and everything, I'm not telling you don't have a 401k. I have a 401k, but I'm just saying you need to keep in mind. You have all that in mind, but they're not matching you. So it kind of adds a little bit of insult to injury. Check out that episode of 60 Minutes. It's here on YouTube somewhere, but there's like 2 different documentaries about the same thing, and Jack Bogle has an awful lot to say about that. So that's what painfully employed looks like. But can you be gainfully employed on paper and still be painfully employed? Absolutely, you can. So let's talk about it. Everything I just listed, those are things that your employer controls. On this channel, we are not victims, we are victors. You get what I'm saying? We're victorious in everything that we do. So you can't expect a company to do it all for you. You have to do some of these things for yourself. We're not going to be victims. We're not going to lay down and say, oh, the company's not giving me this. Oh, they never picked me for the raise. Oh, it's politics. I'm not getting paid enough. This is ridiculous, but I'm going to stay for another 20 years. That is the craziest thing to me. We have to think a little bit higher level than that. So, what do we do instead? With the money that you are making with your job, are you gainfully employed in that you're actually using the money properly? Or are you spending it on things you don't need or things that are just very comfortable to have? And then getting stressed out when bills come around and then eyeing your bank account very closely because you might end up in the zero, you might end up in the negative. I know all about it. But we have to look at, if we're working this hard and we're not even gainfully employed, what are we doing? If we're working this hard and we are or are not gainfully employed, but we're not even spending our money properly, we're not budgeting our money properly, and I do have an app. We'll talk about that later. It's more of a smart spreadsheet, actually, a spreadsheet that does everything for you. More to come on that. But what are we doing if we're not investing into our retirement account that the company gives us? Like, there's no point in saying, yeah, I'm gainfully employed. My company has an excellent 401k program and they have a Roth IRA too. I ain't invested in either one of them, but they have a great one. Like, it kind of sounds a little hypocritical, just in my opinion, because why are you praising the benefits that you don't use? You know what I mean? And I'm not saying that people typically do these things, but there's at least one benefit or one thing on the list that I just named that the company does control that people don't even take advantage of. So, are you even taking advantage of what you have? And then, are you taking advantage of your paychecks in that you're putting every dollar towards something meaningful and toward a goal within your life? Are you putting money towards investments? Are you putting money towards your savings? Are you tracking such a thing? I have a solution that can help you do all those things. Um, but you don't need my solution to do those things because before my app existed, there were like pen and paper, there were spreadsheets online in general, there's Google Sheets, there's all these different things that already exist. Are we taking the responsibility right now as adults? I don't care how busy you are you taking responsibility as an adult to make sure you're managing your finances properly? Or are you just going out to eat every time? Are you just buying all these things all the time? Are you binging Netflix and spending money on all these different subscriptions? These things can be important and meaningful and comfortable in life, but they are not more important than your well-being. They're not more important than the types and quality of food that you're eating. They're not more important than your fitness level. They're not more important than your hygiene. They're not more important than the fact that you could be saving six, seven, $800 on a car payment by not having a car payment or by having an extremely lower car payment. These are the things. I'm not just talking about your physical well-being either. I'm talking about your financial well-being. If you are gainfully employed, you could be making $200,000 a year. But how can you say you're gainfully employed if you're living check to check on a 200K a year salary? I'm gonna let that breathe for a second because yes, that was a rhetorical question, but that is something that when I've said it in real life, like in person to people, they kind of look at me like, I never thought of it that way. I mean, what are we doing if we're making, I don't care if you're making 250 a year, $250,000 a year. If you're making that much, that is great and I admire that about you. That's fantastic, but what are you doing with that opportunity? Because money isn't just like something that you get. It's an opportunity in digital form because we really don't see it in physical form as often these days. That's an opportunity to do something that can potentially change your life. I already discussed in previous streams on multiple occasions what I could have done in my early 20s when I thought I wasn't making anywhere near as much as what I should have been making. But that money then could have gotten me rich. And so one of the lessons that I learned just in my early 20s, or throughout my 20s, I learned that I've always had everything I'll ever need to be rich. I just need to put my money in the right places. And that's even while I'm growing my business, even while I'm focusing on other things, because we're in like a great era when it comes to investments, when it comes to stocks, when it comes to ETFs, when it comes to retirement accounts in general, when it comes to investment funds in general, when it comes to commodities, when it comes to gold, when it comes to Bitcoin. I don't say crypto because I really only believe in Bitcoin, to be perfectly honest with you. Not to say that there won't be other successful cryptos out there, but Bitcoin is the only one that I pay any attention to. That's the only one that I put any money in. My point behind all this is I could have gotten into all these things at a very cheap price because the name of the game with investing is getting in at a low price and let it skyrocket. Keep putting money in, keep putting money in, and it's going to just keep growing and it makes money passively. All last year, I documented my entire net worth journey and my entire wealth journey for that whole year. My mistakes and everything else is here on YouTube. It's called Wealth Journey Series or the Wealth Journey Series, and I made somebody's salary just off of holding my investments. It was something like $68,000 passive just off of me holding my investments. And this wasn't just one account, obviously. This was multiple investment accounts. And I'm not here to preach about investing, but I am here, in fact, to let you know that if you're employed and you have such a great opportunity and you're working at a Fortune 500 company, maybe you're up there in the ladder, or maybe you're, behind the desk somewhere on the computer, you're making spreadsheets. You could be an analyst, you could be an accountant, you can be a doctor, you could be a lawyer, you could be a manager, you could be an engineer, you could be anything you want to be. You could be a teacher, you could be a professor at a college, you could be a nurse, you could be a construction worker, you could be any of these things and still not be doing what you need to do financially. For my people who are gainfully employed in the chat room, how would you say that you are with your money? Would you say you're good? Would you say you're meh? Would you say you're bad with it? Would you say you're mainly focusing on investing opportunities, whether it's growing your business, growing your actual investment accounts? Excuse me. And I don't know how many responses I'll get, but if I don't get any responses, I'll just play it off as if I asked a rhetorical question. But I am curious because I wasn't always doing what I was supposed to do. And like sometimes I had the intent to do the right thing, but it's just that I didn't know enough about what I was investing in, and so I ended up losing money. I was losing like $600 a month every single month for the entire year from 2018 to 2019. I sure did. Got involved with the MLM, was investing $600 a month thinking I was taking it somewhere with it, and I was actually about to massively increase my net worth and didn't really gain a dime from it. But I did get some pretty good experience, and I did get to understand a lot of other aspects. I could have learned them elsewhere, and I could have learned them for free, but it was a good escape from the crazy place that we could call my job at that time, which was 2017, 2018. Um, yeah, so I would say you got to make sure you do right by yourself. Why would you put yourself through the ringer for something like money and then not even turn around and use it properly? And then upgrade your lifestyle when you get a raise. And what is crazy, crazy to me is when I see people get a raise that does not coincide with inflation, doesn't even pace up with inflation at all. And then they upgrade their lifestyle because they're making more money. But I just got finished explaining, no, you do not. You could be making more money on paper, but as far as what things cost in terms of buying power, you are making less money, even though the number is greater than it was last year because inflation outpaced your raise. But if you upgrade your lifestyle based off of your raise without respect to inflation, my friends, you're going to put yourself in a position where you're 10, 11, 12, all the way up to 20+% behind. And then you wonder why your bank account goes in the negative. You wonder why you're worried or you forgot about that bill or why did this catch me by surprise? You put these bills in here. You know what I'm saying? There's been people I've seen throughout my career, I've seen a lot of stuff. I've seen overtime be on and off throughout my career. And every time it gets cut off, the first thing that I've heard typically to my ears was, but I've got bills. Who told you to get so many bills that you need something extra that isn't even guaranteed for you to pay such things? Simon says, trying to do better with investing in myself. That's good. That's good. You got to invest in yourself. Warren Buffett said it best. So thank you for that comment, Simon. Warren Buffett said it best. The best return on your investment is yourself. Now, that is with some caveats. It doesn't necessarily have the exact same immediacy as like investing in the stock market, but long-term investing in yourself is amazing. So think about anyone who's gone to college. That's a huge investment in themselves. And they come out with a degree and they're making six figures right out of college. And that does happen more often than you think these days. And prior to that, they weren't making but $10 an hour, $12 an hour, whatever the new minimum wage is. I think it's $12.50. But anyway, prior to that, they were making like fractions of what they're making now. That would be an example of return on investment. And then that return on the investment then buys them the opportunity to go ahead and start investing in other things like stocks, like ETFs, like Bitcoin. Does that make sense? So investing in yourself is extremely, extremely important, especially when it comes to education and learning skills that then help you become more valuable to the overall marketplace, especially if you want to build your own business or things like that. That's extremely, extremely important. Um, I was going somewhere and I completely got off track, but we have to do better with our overall money. I'm not saying you shouldn't never splurge or do things for yourself, but I am saying if you have impulses, why don't you just everybody got iPhones nowadays. If you don't, you probably have an Android. They both have similar things. So you have Apple Pay and you have Google Pay, right? Use one of those. Send money to yourself and make this your splurge account. Give yourself like, I don't know, 5% of each check, maybe even 5% after tax dollars, since that is what you take home anyway. So 5% of what you take home and make that your splurge account per check. And if you're complaining because it's not enough, save it up until it is. And that's easier said than done. It's not exactly the most exciting or fun thing to do, but it is something that we should all consider doing, in my humble opinion, because if not, that starts getting into something where you're not even tracking how much you're splurging, and then it bleeds into your bills, and then if you're trying to invest, that bleeds into that. But then you also have gas, you also have things that are one-off expenses, you have a bunch of other things that just can pop up out of nowhere and surprise you, especially if you have something like your car insurance on a bill that comes every 6 months because you wanted to save money, but you're truly not saving because you have to get out your credit card over time, because if you don't, that'll bleed into something else and then you'll be in the negative, and then you have to wait 2 more Fridays to get another check. Like, I'm telling you, I've seen this several times. I've worked with plenty of people at this point. I know the pattern. I know the things that can happen, things that can pop up. Some of us, I don't want to say some of y'all like I'm isolated from y'all, because I'm really not. I'm just as human as you are. Some of us are one minor inconvenience away from being screwed financially. So, when you are at work, and when you do have those mornings or evenings, if you're on a night shift, where you wake up and you're like, man, I don't want to go to work, but I'm gonna go to work because I have responsibilities. Then you're at work grinding it out. You're taking care of business. You're doing whatever it is that you do, whether it's, top level exec, whether it's the lowest level employee in the building. Everybody is extremely important. But you come home, you're tired, and then you do something like DoorDash because you don't feel like cooking. You're stealing from yourself if you're not in a financial position to do these things on a regular basis. And only you can decide if you're in a financial position to do things. And if you don't decide, math will decide for you. When you see negative numbers in your bank account, you know you went the wrong way. You know what I'm saying? So, what I'm getting at is, us as adults, we should be cognizant, confident, and competent enough to be able to look at our own numbers and look at our own bank accounts and know exactly how much we should expect to spend every single month, just based off of our regular expenses. And then, if you add one-offs to it, how much you should spend then. Making it predictable, making it so that you should be able to honestly understand on average per month how much money you spend per day. You should know, because the things you do know are things like how much your rent or mortgage costs. Some things you do know is how much your car payment costs, right? You might know how much you roughly spend on groceries every month. Okay, those are three things out of God knows how many things you spend money on per month. And you don't think about it because you're just swiping your card, or you're using like Apple Pay or something. And so you're not even really looking at it, and it's just a transaction on a screen, and then boom, 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 boom. But before you know it, you might have 98 transactions in a month, not realizing where your money went to. My app tracks all of that. This is a shameless plug for my app. I'm not even going to lie to you, but this whole purpose of this video slash stream is not specifically for my app. It's actually really talking about what you do. But like, I know what people go through at work. I know the hours, the blood, the sweat, and the tears that people, sacrifice when they go to work, uh, especially if they have dreams and aspirations and things like that to do other things in life. And some people feel like they're wasting their life away. Some people are doing their job while they're also doing school. People are doing their job while they have kids, newborn babies, keeping them up all night. And they're turning right back around on like 30 minutes of sleep, going back into work, cranking out another, 8, 10, 12 hour day. Like, I really know what people go through at work. But what my overall question is, why are you putting yourself through that if you're not at least being productive with the money that you're getting? This isn't a judgment question. It's a question that I honestly want you to ask yourself. I want you to honestly look into your bank statements and look at how often you're spending money on things that were not necessities, that are not helping you build your legacy, right? That are not helping you build your savings account, that are not helping your money grow, that are not helping you towards your dream of passive income or building your first business or making extra income in general or just being more comfortable, being able to sleep at night. If you are not putting your money towards those things, I don't care if it's $5, $10, if you're not putting something towards that, how in the world do you expect to ever get there? I've had similar conversations with myself. For example, my Roth IRA I didn't take too seriously at first. Back when it was like a 6,000, maybe it was $6,500 limit where you could put that up to that much in your Roth IRA. I was like, I'll put 1945 in here, like $1,945. The next year I put nothing in there. The following year I put 2,000 in there. So I just beat 2 years prior by a few dollars basically. Wasn't even trying to max it out. Really didn't fully know what a Roth IRA was. I just knew that I needed to put money in it. Excuse me. Y'all, the one thing about these Ollipops is they will make you burp. So I'm not trying to be up here being nasty or nothing, but like when you mix talking and soda, burping happens. Science. But anyway, I say all this because I want us to think differently about how we treat our money. Because if you have aspirations to have your own business and things like that, right? But you're not even able to handle the money that you get from your job. And your job money is like actually guaranteed money where you know for a fact if you work 2 weeks, legally they're obligated to pay you. When you have your own business and you're only surviving on your own business, guess what? There are off seasons. People are not as consistent as buying from you as companies are paying you every single 2 weeks, whether it's semi-monthly or if it's bi-weekly. There is a difference. One's 15 days, like every 15 days. One's every 14 days. Whether it's once a month, whether it's, some weird different pay scale that I haven't thought of yet, at least we know that is more secure and more guaranteed money, unless of course you get fired or laid off or something. Whereas when you're in business for yourself, you could be thriving for 6 months straight and then bam, not one customer this month. Or bam, one of the systems that you spent so much time building fails, and now you have to start from ground zero on this one certain thing that so happened to be the lifeline of your products. And you have to shift and pivot, and you can't be a victim in those moments, which is exactly why you can't be a victim in the moments when you realize, man, I didn't get a raise that lines up with inflation. Man, I didn't get that promotion. You can't be a victim. You can't be a victim when your benefits aren't what they're supposed to be. You're supposed to get up and do something about it. And you have to ask yourself constantly, not based off of anyone else's definition of gainfully employed. You have to ask yourself, am I gainfully employed? And if I'm not gainfully employed, guess what? I'm painfully employed. That's what you have to say to yourself. And most of all, are you happy? And there's a difference, right? So I'm not saying, do you love your job? Are you in love with your job? I don't expect anyone to say yes to that. Some people will always say yes to it, but there are few and far between. Way more people will tolerate or just simply like their job or enjoy their job, and that is good enough for me. But if you're not happy, like you straight up going to work and you were unhappy to be there, it makes your skin crawl, it makes your stomach sick, it makes you, sometimes it could be just a phase, it could just be stress, it could be nerves, it could be like a new job, it could be something that you're not used to yet. But you've been working there for years, you know if you can't stand to be there, if you're unhappy or not. That's the people that I'm talking to. And if you're not, you have to get up and you have to do something about it. You either have to speak up, you have to either pivot, go somewhere else, different department, different company altogether. You can reset, you can decide this field isn't for me, but you have to understand and look at your own situation and decide for yourself if you're where you're supposed to be or where you need to be within your career. Because my thing when I was at my previous job at that tire factory, I was in a management role. It was my first ever role in my career, and it was the hardest thing I've ever done to my life, even to this day. But I eventually wised up after a couple months of going through it, and I was like, well, I have to take advantage of every dollar I make at this company because I don't know how long I'll be working here. I don't know if they'll make the decision that I don't belong here or if I will, but I will make sure that if they make the decision, what I can do right now is start piling up my money. I can start learning about personal finances. I can start learning about how to invest. I can start learning how to go into business for myself. And I did. I sure enough did have a small business to myself. I was teaching kids how to play the drums. I was on the drum line when I was in college at East Carolina University. I was over there. Steam was coming off those drums. I was drumming so clean. Drummed in the Panthers stadium, like at an actual Panthers game, Carolina Panthers game. It was the dopest experience ever. There were like 70,000 people in the crowd. And it wasn't just me, obviously, it was the entire band, but it was a crazy, bone-chilling experience. So it wasn't that hard to convince people's parents to let me teach their kids how to drum because I was the man on the drums. You get what I'm saying? I was really out here on the drums playing for real at a collegiate level, and it worked out. So what I'm saying is I didn't let my situation disrupt my vision for myself. I let it amplify my vision for myself, and I decided, you know what? I might be scared in that any day they can say, you know what, Reggie, it's not working out, get out of here. Because they were kind of cutthroat at that company. But I had to also think sometimes people verbally give other people a hard time just so they can bring the best out of them. I don't agree with that method of leadership, but some people do that. They will make you believe that something is coming your way. They will make you believe that your job is threatened, and that might bring the best out of you. And perhaps it brought some of the best work out of me because I ended up excelling at that job. Still hated it, but I ended up excelling at that job. And guess what? I won an award. Me and my whole entire team was behind me. I'm getting congested. Me and my whole entire team was behind me, and I have shared that photo on YouTube quite a few times. It's probably been a few years since I've done that, but it was great, and it was like a complete 180 from when I started to then. But that was when I knew, all right, I've got my value. This place values me. If this place values me, any place will value me. I'm already giving them 7 days per week, 12-hour days. The 7th day was 8 hours. They want to do me a favor on the 7th day. But my point remains. They weren't thanking me every day. They weren't telling me how good of a job I was doing every day. They were basically acting like, well, we expect you to be here. And where else are you going to go? You better be here type of situation. That's the type of energy, and that's frankly the type of words that they were using anyway to describe that I should be there anyway. I should be grateful. I should be thankful. You don't have to embrace toxicity just because it pays you. And that's what I realized when I was at my first ever job. And like that whole time, I was like, yeah, my family thinks I'm gainfully employed because I'm getting paid. And I was actually making more than like my parents, to be perfectly honest with you, at that young age of 21. But I couldn't let that get to me because I was like, they think I'm gainfully employed, but I'm really not. I'm really painfully employed. Again, this is 2017 Reggie, different situation than 2019 Reggie when I got a completely different job altogether. But at that time, all those years ago, what was that, 8 years ago, something like that, it just wasn't what it should have been. And I didn't realize it until it was longer than it should have been, to be perfectly honest. I'm going to read some comments now. Anna says, I loved watching your video years ago about your factory job and you moving to Vegas. I actually didn't move to Vegas. I did move to Nevada, but I didn't move to Vegas. But thank you. I appreciate that, Anna. I learned from these videos of yours years ago. Save every dollar. That's absolutely right. I think your work ethic is a result of your character, which is the outcome of your personal values. And I do believe that's absolutely correct. Anna, thank you very much for sending those thoughtful comments my way. I definitely appreciate that. And it's very true. It is a reflection of your character and who you are. And you could tie that directly to if you are gainfully employed, because how many gainfully employed people do you know that don't have any work ethic, like worth a crap? That is also within your control. And people lose their jobs and they lose their gainfully employedness based off of not having a work ethic. You know what I mean? So not only do you have to cherish the money you get and actually be a good steward of the money that you're receiving, but you also need to add value to the company, get results for the company. That's why they hired you, by the way. And once you do that on a high level and continue, the thing that people forget uh, to to keep in mind is you have to keep improving every single day. You don't get to take breaks from improving. You have a work ethic, you're good today. Somebody else is going to pass you up, and it's not a competition unless you're going for a promotion. Then it definitely is a competition. I don't care what anybody tells you. You both can't always get it. It's sometimes only one position open, and 7 people are going for it. I mean, and I've been in that exact position, and guess what? I won. I'm competitive anyway, but I'm not saying that to like brag or anything. I am saying that to say that your work ethic has to shine through those things. And if you continuously improve every single day, you might improve 1% or even a 0.5% every day. But let's just, for easy math, say 1%. You improve 1% every day, you improve 365% per year. You know what I'm saying? And that's just by improving every single day. Now, obviously, you could say, well, we don't work 365 days a year. Granted. So you improve every day for however many days you do work, and then you multiply it by the days you worked, and guess what? That's how much you improve per year. Not only is your net worth, not only has your net worth grown, but also your character and mindset. I appreciate that. Thank you. That's what I'm talking about. That is what I'm talking about. And that's absolutely right. You have to constantly work on yourself. One thing that has not shown my best level of work ethic has been this channel, because I've been, at one point I was consistent, at one point I wasn't, and then I came back, and then I had tragedy in the family, so I was off for like a year or something. Then I came back, and it was like on and off, on and off, on and off. But the thing is, in every aspect in life, I'm working to be consistent. So with this channel, I'm working to be consistent. I did not post last I posted this Wednesday, but not last Wednesday because I was working on the app that I keep telling y'all about. So that is actually being wrapped up. So now I'm just working on building the web pages and getting it out to you all so that you can see it for yourself. I have to also set up the onboarding videos so it's user friendly and all that good stuff. But all that to say, you spend a lot of time working, doing things you don't want to do, right? Your whole job maybe isn't things that you don't want to do, but maybe some of your job or even half of your job are things that you don't want to do. You have conversations that you don't want to have. You look at screens or spreadsheets or data that you don't want to be looking at. You're in front of people that you do not want to be anywhere near. I mean, we're human, right? We can all relate to that. We've all had something where we don't want to talk to a specific person, or we don't want to have a specific conversation, or we don't want to do a specific task, right? But you get home and then you say, I don't want a budget, right? And that's kind of hypocritical behavior, because unless you're making so much money that you don't even need to think about a budget, which I don't think exists, because if multi-billion and trillion-dollar companies have a budget and they keep track of their capital expenditure and they keep track of all these different numbers and their revenue and their profit and their free cash flow and all these other things, why don't you have to budget? You know what I mean? You got to look at yourself like you're a business, because in some ways you are. Without you, you have no roof over your head, but that's with you putting your money into the right places. That's with you actually prioritizing where money goes. That's with you saying, you know what, I refuse to tolerate having a bank account that has gone to zero or in the negative. So I'm going to see it for myself and make sure that I give myself a buffer, because I know I have overspending habits on a particular time of the month, especially if it's the part of the month where you get paid like your biggest paycheck, where you have more left over. You know what I mean? Your paychecks might be the same in quantity, but you might have less bills, and so you're able to pocket more money. And that might be the specific time of the month where you're like, up, I'm overspending, up, we're going out to eat, we're going to the movies, we're going out to the game, we're going out to wherever you want to go to, we're going out for drinks, things like that. Those are things that you have to be looking at. You have to not only be mindful of what's going in and out of your account, you have to be mindful of what your behaviors are during certain times. Like for me, on my Fridays, it's not actual Friday, but on my work day Friday, which is the last day I work per week, I was always like, man, it's been a long week. I'm gonna go home and treat myself. I'm not gonna go nowhere, but I'm a DoorDash. And that used to be the top day that I would spend the most money. Excuse me. What was I gonna say? So when I did start developing my app, and at first, to be perfectly honest, my app was just for me. But it added so much value to me, I stopped really using it for myself and started developing it to something bigger for everyone else. And obviously, I still use it like literally on a daily basis, but I stopped focusing on just using it for me, and I focused on everybody else, because it was that valuable. And it told me, this is the day of the week you spend the most money. This is how much you spend on average per day. This is how much you spent this month versus last month. This is what you spent the excess money on. Like, it really tells me what's going on. Before I continue, I will get into the comments. Those older videos, either just your face close up and no distractions, were the videos I watched for hours and hours. Well, I appreciate that. I earned $188,000 in 2024, and I lived on a small budget of $1,800 a month. That is crazy good, and that is amazing to hear. And that's what it's about. I told y'all in the video where I was talking about what I would tell my younger self. I think the title was called something like financial tips or financial advice to younger adults, something like that. It's one of these. I don't have too many lives posted on YouTube because I just started doing them, but it's that one where I'm talking about the younger adults. And one of the things I said was, it sounds easier said than done. I'm getting congested again. It sounds easier said than done, but you need to make money, of course, and then when you make money, you need to save more money than you spend, right? And then with the excess that you get, especially if you get raises or extra money on top of that, with the difference, like the difference between your bills and your savings, you invest the rest of it. You know what I'm saying? Continuously earn more than your bills basically charge you, and with the difference, invest it. That is how you become rich. And people don't realize, oh, well, that's simple, I can do that. Yeah, but that extra money and excess money has already been spent on shoes and clothes and entertainment and drinks and food and luxury and leisure. So that's the point. It's foregoing certain lifestyle things and foregoing looking more successful than you really are to actually become the success that you want to look like you are. Does that make sense? That's the thing that people need to get through their heads, I think. It's not just what looks good. It's not just what is comfortable. It's not just what is routine. Sometimes you have to break routines to see your true potential. Because every one of y'all watching me right now, first of all, thank you all for watching me. I think this is one of the highest watched streams I've ever done, especially with people watching concurrently. But every one of y'all has special capabilities. Every one of y'all can do incredible and like extremely wonderful things. So we need to start looking at how we can take our finances to the next level. That's why I built Wealth Journey Collective. That's why I put it in every single description, because I don't want to attract every single person to it. I only want to attract people who really want to build wealth for themselves and build wealth as a collective group, and talk about it, and talk about what we're invested in, and talk about how much we're investing every month, and talk about what our results were, talking about our personal brands and our businesses that we're working on. And even if you don't have a business, how you're doing in your career, questions, because we have career questions, we have resume questions, we have promotion questions. That's partially how I came up with the idea to talk about, are you gainfully employed or painfully employed, right? Like, we have discussions, and sometimes they trigger certain thoughts. I'm like, man, I need to make a video about this. And so I feel like now I really never run out of any idea, because I have this wonderful community, and it's not like a super deep community of people. And when I say deep, I mean it's not like thousands of people in it, but the type of people that are in it are the type of people that fuel amazing communities and great habits. Even sharing insights on what we read, sharing insights on certain articles, certain books, certain things that actually help you throughout your wealth journey. That's why it's called Wealth Journey Collective, because as a collective group, we're talking about our individual wealth journeys. And on this specific podcast, I'm telling you, these are things that these are basically a bunch of notes to self that are literally within my notes app, that are literally things that I've experienced and needed to journal out my thoughts so I could actually process what was going on and navigate through life and figure out what I was going to do about it. So whenever I have problems, I write them down and I create a system or a solution for said problem, because I will not continuously suffer over and over again on the same problem. I refuse. I am too smart to be out here learning the same lesson over and over and over and over again the hard way. Just for what? You know what I mean? You don't have to put up with this mess. Like, if you're truly going through something at work, if you're painfully employed at all, you need to do something about it. You need to figure out how you get out of that situation, or how you improve that situation, whether that means sticking up for yourself, or whether that means getting up and getting out if nobody's changing, right? That's what that looks like. And if you are gainfully employed, but you feel like you could be getting paid better, I think you should speak up for yourself and say, look, I'm providing X amount of value for the company, and actually know what you're talking about when you do this. Actually know what you're saying, know what you're talking about, know what your pitch is, know what you're going to say when it comes to the value that you've added to your company. You can't just say, oh, I added value to the company. No, you say, I saved X amount of money for this company by doing this project, and I need to be paid for it because blah. It's not going to work every time. It's not going to work every time, but you will gain respect by doing it, and you just might get what you're asking for, or very close to what you're asking for. I know, because I've done it. I'm just saying. Some things you hear online and people haven't applied it. I'm only telling you things that I have literally done in real life that have actually worked. I'm really telling you how I've gotten out of situations that were not desirable for myself, like in real time. I really went through a lot of these things that I'm talking about here in this video, and I've really seen every single thing, every single aspect of what I'm talking about in this video. I've seen them in real life, and I've helped people through them, and I've helped myself through them. I've been using my iPad too much. I was definitely about to touch my screen on my laptop, thinking that it was, thinking that it was actually an iPad. For congestion, fasting helps. Don't eat anything for 48 hours, and you'll be new. I've completed hundreds of 5-day water fasts to reset my health. Nothing else for 5 days. So healing. Actually, I've heard that a lot, and I do intermittent fasting. I know it's not the same thing as the 5-day fasting thing, but fasting is very, very beneficial to your health, if y'all didn't know that. And I think it also helps because it eliminates a lot of the mucus that would otherwise be in your body, hence the congestion. I don't know why I always get congested when I'm doing these shows, though. Any other time, I'm fine. I'm not congested. But when I do these shows, I get congested. Maybe it's because I'm drinking these apple lollipops. I don't know. But thank you, Anna. I appreciate that. All right. Do we have any questions? Do we have any thoughts? Right now, my devices are on low battery. My iPad's on 5%. My phone's on 17%. And my computer is powering my camera and my mic right now. So I started at 58%. It's at 14% right now. This laptop is an absolute beast, but when it's attached to a bunch of devices, it doesn't hold its charge very well. So do we have any questions? Do we have any thoughts? Do we have any concerns? Do we have anything that I didn't cover that you'd like to hear me talk about? Is there anything you want to discuss at all? Because if not, I will go ahead and end the stream here. I do appreciate all of y'all's participation. Anna, Simon, Llama Boy, I appreciate all of y'all jumping on today and having some discussion with me through the chat. Thank you for letting me know how you're doing. Thank you for adding to the conversation. And overall, I just want to leave y'all with the thought of no matter where you're at in your career, you can be doing, no matter where you're at in your career, you can be doing a lot better with the finances that you already have. It's not always about chasing the next raise or promotion. Sometimes it's about getting good at managing what you currently have, so that way when you have more, you are in a much better situation. And like I said earlier, when you do make that raise and or when you do get that promotion, you keep your lifestyle the same, and then you save and invest the difference. So let's say you're making an additional $10,000 a year. I would encourage you to keep living on the same lifestyle that you're living right now. And then with that $10,000 extra dollars a year, divide that by the amount of months in the year, and then per month, put that extra money towards saving and investing. Easier said than done, yes. Can it be done? Yes. Because you first have to look at, out of that $10,000 extra, is it really $10,000? Am I taking home $10,000 extra, or is it $10,000 extra on paper where it's going to be taxed? So is it really closer to like $7,333 extra and 33 cents? Because that sounds like an accurate number for what that would actually be that you take home. So let's just go with that. Divide that number by 12, and then you have the number that you need to be putting aside every month to invest or to save or to do both. But that is going to put you in a substantially better place when it comes to investing. Anna has a question. Will you be doing more videos with your old style, just like your fade in darkness? Like just, hold on. Old style, like just your, face. I got you. Yes, I will. When you say old style, can you tell me what year you're referring to? Because I tried to recreate some of my old style videos last year, and I don't know if they were taken as they were. So are you talking about like 2020, 2021? Yeah, I got your face. Yeah, so I'm not just going to be doing these lives, but I am going to do these lives, right? I'm going to chop these lives off up into like individual videos, but I'm also going to be doing my old style videos where I'm doing like my wealth journey. Every now and then I will do a specific topic, but every now and then, just because I'm really busy with my business and things like that, and Wealth Sync AI, which is the app, and then Wealth Journey Collective. Without this background, usually, well, in my older videos, I had this, but it was like a. Let me see if I can actually find it real quick on my Nano Leaf. It was like a work from home type of thing. I accidentally turned it off. I can't find it. Here it is. Okay, so it's called Work from Home. I'm still looking for it, Anna. For some reason, it was in 2020 when I did it though. It's called Work from Home. And it was like a light orange background. If you have any video examples, let me know. But either way, I have been thinking I need to go back to my old style. Those videos got a lot more traction, a lot more views. They were a lot more fun to make. It was really blurred in old videos. Your face was in focus. Now the background is in focus and you're blurred. Oh, I'm blurry. Oh. Okay, I see what you're saying now. I will work on that. I didn't realize that actually until you just said something about it. So I'll definitely check it out. But yes, to answer your question, I will be doing my older style videos. I did get a different camera. I do still have the same type of lens where it makes the background blurry. The only problem is I'm like I can touch my background. Usually in my other videos, I was like a few feet ahead of my background, so it was blurry. But I'm just doing these lives at my kitchen table just because it's like very convenient to do so. But to your point, I will definitely look at doing the videos the old style way where my face is in focus, the background is blurry. It's more of like a, I guess you could say more of a vibe. And then focusing on specific topics. I will be making more of those. I am currently on vacation right now from my job, ironically enough, so I can plan these things out a lot better. What other questions do we have? Anna, that was an excellent question. I appreciate you asking me about that. What else do we have? If we don't have anything else, I'll go ahead and sign off, but I will give y'all a few more minutes if y'all have anything for me. I will say this while I'm waiting for y'all. A lot of my old style videos was me walking y'all through a journey. I actually worked with a YouTube coach, and she was always like, you have to take people on a journey and show them what you were learning at that specific time in life, and basically almost get to the point where you're reliving those things. And that gave me so many ideas. That was how my channel actually got monetized. So a lot of what she taught me, her name is Camille Colazzo. She's not here on YouTube anymore, but she used to be, has well over 100,000 subscribers. But that is how my channel got monetized, and that's what really got me into a groove as far as making content and having a good hook at the beginning, and things that I kind of fell off on, to be perfectly honest. So no, these are great questions that make me think about these things. If we don't have any more questions, I'm going to go ahead and sign off because my laptop and my iPad, I don't need my iPad right now anyway, but my laptop, which is the main thing I need right now, is about to die. And I don't really want to get up, go get the charger, do that whole thing, especially if the stream's about to end. So I'm going to go ahead and end the stream. I will be editing videos and coding the last bit of my app tonight. So by the next video, I am committing to having my app 100% complete on the sales page, ready for y'all to get it if you are interested in the app. Good night, everybody. I appreciate every single one of y'all, and I will see y'all Wednesday. Wednesday. I will see y'all on Wednesday. And if the date ends up changing, because I am on vacation, I do plan on doing a little bit of traveling, I will let y'all know. But for right now, let's plan for Wednesday. Y'all have a fantastic evening. I hope y'all learned something, and I really hope that I've opened up your perspective.